Baby back ribs. You want them? I got them. Let's do this. Come on. What's up, everybody? It's your boy Kyle with another episode of the Barbecue Nurse. Alright guys, today we're doing baby back ribs. So let's talk a second about the baby back rib. Baby back ribs are actually the most popular rib in the United States right now. And it's probably because it's also the meatiest rib compared between the spare ribs and the baby backs. So now let's talk about where baby back ribs come from, because they sure as heck don't come from the backs of babies. All right, so you think about the rib cage of a pig. All right, it's going to run from their back down around to their front here, okay? We have two different kinds of ribs that come from there. We have the spare rib and we have the baby back rib. The baby back actually comes from the part of the rib cage that's actually more towards the back, more towards the spine, okay? The spare ribs are the other half of the rib cage, the lower part, from half down to the lower part. So that includes your rib tips and what they call the brisket flap, okay? Baby backs are, they have smaller bones compared to spare ribs, and like I said, they're more meatier than spare ribs. Okay, so that's how they get the name baby back. Baby, smaller bones, back, from towards the back of the rib cage. Okay, so that's where baby backs come from. All right, so let's go ahead and get these prepped and ready to go. All right guys, so obviously the first thing we need to do is to go ahead and get these ribs out of the cryovac. And to do that, just grab yourself a good pair of scissors, or you can use a knife. It doesn't matter. Either way, you just want to get it open enough to get your rack of ribs out. Like so. Okay, so once we got them out, you notice that I did not rinse it, okay? You guys are gonna hear me preach about this from here on out. Do not rinse your meat, okay? Even chicken, don't rinse it. It does nothing. If you think you're getting rid of salmonella by rinsing it, you're dead wrong, okay? A lot of studies are coming out now completely debunking that whole myth of rinsing the meat to get rid of the salmonella. What they're finding out is actually when you rinse your meat is you're splashing all of that up onto your sink, your faucet, your counter, whatever. And so if you don't clean that off right away and disinfect it, the next time you put something down there or touch it or whatever, that's going to transfer to whatever you've just put on that surface. And that's where people are getting the salmonella from. Okay, it's not the meat itself. Okay, so what you really want to do is take some paper towel and just kind of dry it off a little bit. Just get all that juice off of there. And we'll even do the other side. There. There we go. All right. Got our ribs out. Got them wiped down. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to remove this membrane that runs along these bones here on the underside of the rib, okay? So technically this would be the inside of the rib cage, okay? So we want to get this membrane off. Now, can you cook them with the membrane on? Yes, you can. The thing is that is you need to do it right, okay? So if you're going to leave it on, what I suggest you do is take a good sharp knife and score it this way and that way, okay? That way when you go to bite into it, you're not going to get a very tough membrane. Now, if you don't score it and you leave the membrane on, you can still throw them on the grill, throw them on the smoker and cook them, okay? You just want to make sure you cook them right and cook them all the way. Otherwise, you're going to have that tough membrane that you're biting into. So, how do we get this off? Very simple. Use a spoon. You're going to use the back of it, okay? Come down here. It's about your fat end here. And you're going to find the bone. spoon upside down, and you're just going to kind of get it up underneath the membrane here. Then you just grab a paper towel, and this just helps you to grab hold of that membrane without it slipping off. Now don't worry if you don't get it all off in one piece. That's okay, because you can still go back and get the rest of it off. All right. So what I do is I just like to loosen it up as I pull it. Okay, now as you can see, I just got a little bit off. I got about maybe half of it off. That's okay. You're just going to go back, grab your spoon, pop up the other side. All right. Okay, so now we got our membrane off. Now we're ready to go ahead and start seasoning it, okay? We're not going to be doing any trimming on this, okay? We're not in competition. We're not going to be doing any kind of competition trim on this, all right? We're simply backyard guys wanting to make some good ribs. So we really don't have a whole lot of trimming to do. As a matter of fact, we're not going to do any, okay? Now, sometimes I will suggest you maybe cut off this last bone here, or these last two bones, okay? Because this is a smaller end, and it tends to get done before the rest of the ribs do. All right, so this end can tend to be maybe a little overdone sometimes. So sometimes I'll just go ahead and just cut these two bones off. So to season these ribs today, I'm using some Killer Hogs the barbecue rub. This is from Malcolm Reed of How to Barbecue Right. If you guys are not watching Malcolm Reed and How to Barbecue Right, I highly suggest you go over and check out his channel. He's an awesome guy, a lot of good tips, a lot of good tricks, and the stuff that he produces just looks amazing, okay? So this is his rub, and we're gonna use it today. Now, sometimes I like to use a little bit of mustard on here to act as a binder. All that does is just holds that rub onto the meat. Some people says the mustard gives the ribs kind of a mustardy flavor. I don't think so at all, okay? I really don't think you can taste that mustard at all. So let's go ahead and season. We're gonna give this a nice even coat of seasoning. And this rub, I tell you, has a beautiful color to it. So now you know it's called rub, but what you don't see me doing is rubbing the meat with it, okay? If anything, just give it a nice little pat. Just pat it down into the meat and it'll stay there, okay? So now we're gonna flip these over, kind of bunch them together a little bit, and we're gonna do the other side. All right, perfect. And that's all we're gonna do, guys. We're gonna make sure that we got a nice even coat of rub on both the top and the bottom. Make sure your sides have some rub as well. And then all we're gonna do now is we're gonna let it sit. And while it sits, we're gonna head out back and we're gonna fire up the pit. Come on. So we made it out to the pit and we're getting it ready to cook. All right, so this is probably your first introduction video to offset smoking, offset cooking, or cooking on an offset smoker, whatever you want to call it. One thing I'm going to point out to you guys, if you notice the Firebox, they sometimes come with grates that run along here. You need to take those out. Okay, what those grates are for is these Fireboxes are actually designed to be a portable charcoal grill. Okay, so that's what those grates are for. We don't need those for smoking, so you need to take those out. Now, I've seen some people actually come up with a genius idea, and they actually slant them in on the inside so they form a V down, and that way you can run your wood if you're running wood, and they just naturally fall down to the bottom, which is pretty cool. All right, so today I got the Firebox set up with It's actually a combination of briquettes and lump. So the reason I did this, and I'll be straight up honest with you, is I did not check my charcoal situation before I started to film this video. And I noticed that I am pretty low on briquettes. So I had a lot of lump. I maybe had a half a bag of briquettes. So what we did is we kind of did a little half and half in here. And then in my chimney, I have maybe about a quarter of the way full with briquettes. And so we'll light those, and when those are lit, we'll dump them on top here, okay? All right, so let's get to it. All right, so we got our chimney. It's about a quarter, maybe about halfway full of briquettes. Got our tumbleweed. Gonna light that thing and set your chimney down on top of it. All right, guys, our briquettes are good and hot. They're ready to be dumped onto the firebox here. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna leave it sit for a minute with the doors wide open. I want as much air to get to it as I can because I want it to start catching the other coals. So we'll give that a few minutes. What I'll do is I'll close my doors, but I'll leave the vents wide open because then we're gonna start drawing the heat. So you'll notice when you dump the hot coals on top of your bed of charcoal in your firebox, you're gonna get a lot of the smoke kicking up, okay? All that is your coals in the firebox are starting to ignite. All right, so I let the charcoal go for a little bit with the doors wide open and the vents wide open so we get some air so it will start catching. Went ahead and closed my doors. I have both vents wide open right now. What I want is, I want this to get to about 250. That's my target temp for ribs. I have found that 250, for me anyway, is probably the best temperature to make ribs. So what I'm gonna do is, once this thermometer or this temp gauge gets up to 200, I'm gonna start backing it down. What you don't want to do is bring your smoker straight up to temperature and then start backing it down, because you're going to overshoot it every single time. And it's much harder to bring your temp down than it is to bring it up. So what I'll do is once it hits 200, I'm going to start closing that top vent. I'm going to close my side vent too, just because I know how this smoker likes to cook. And I need to close that side vent a little bit, otherwise I'm going to overshoot my temperature. Also, what you'll notice is all the smoke rolling out my stack here. This is what we refer to as dirty smoke, okay? You probably really can't see it on the camera, but it almost has like a blackish tint to it, okay? It's white, blackish, whatever you want to call it. This is dirty smoke, okay? This is your charcoal igniting. And those briquettes with all those additives are starting to burn, okay? You do not want to put your food on the smoker with all this smoke going, okay? It's gonna give you a bitter taste and you're not gonna like it. Okay guys, so we backed off on the grill, or the smoker, I'm sorry. I've got my top vent closed about halfway, and I got my side vent closed about halfway. All right, that's just how this thing likes to cook. And that will give me, you can see I'm holding steady at just over 240. I might go ahead and open this up a little bit more just so it gets up to 250. But you can also see I have no more dirty smoke rolling out of my stack. So that's telling me that the smoker's ready for us to get the ribs on. Let's do it. All right, so we're gonna get in our ribs. And if you remember, we went ahead and seasoned them with the rub. While that was, after we finished that, we went outside and fired up our smoker. So when you come back in, what you'll notice is you'll see the ribs have actually started to sweat, okay? So what that is actually, it's just the salt that's in the rub is actually starting to act on the meat and starting to draw out that moisture. So what I like to do now is I'll just go ahead and add just another little layer of rub on top of that, because that moisture is going to act as a binder and it's going to help us set our bark. So we'll just go ahead and just do just a little bit more rub. There we go. And so now these ribs are ready to go on the smoker. Let's go. All right, so the smoker's ready. We're just about at 250. I have no more dirty smoke pouring off. So I'm gonna go ahead and open my lid. And now I'm gonna take my ribs. I'm gonna lay them right there. And then what you wanna do is after you get them on the grate, give them a little push in from the ends. You wanna kind of bunch them up, all right? And get them nice and straight. Because there's one thing I want you guys to remember. If it looks good, it cooks good, okay? All right, so we're gonna go ahead and shut it. And what we'll do is in an hour, we're gonna come out and check them. Okay guys, real quick, I totally forgot. We forgot the wood. So what I'm using, I'm actually just using apple chunk, okay? I know a lot of people are like, oh, you gotta use pecan or whatever. Man, use what you want, all right? I really like apple wood with pork. I think it tastes really good. So all I'm gonna do is use chunk. And I'm just gonna toss them more towards the part that's lit. I'm not gonna put them all the way across because we're not gonna be smoking them the entire time. We only want them to get smoke right at the beginning, okay? And then we'll let them cook the rest of the way. All right, so it's been about an hour. We're still holding pretty good temp. It's between 250, 260. I had to back down a little bit because it was starting to climb. So now what we want to do is we want to go ahead and open it and take a look at our ribs. So now this is where I want you guys to start using your 5 senses, all right? What does it look like, right? We're starting to get that deep mahogany color, which is what we want, okay? Now, a lot of barbecue groups I belong to online, you know, people get on there and they say, hey, I'm doing ribs for the first time, give me times, temperatures, what I need to do. So at the hour mark, you know, everybody says an hour, you want to check it, you want to mop it. Before you mop it though, this is what I want you guys to do, because I want you to touch it, okay? Do you have any rub coming up on your finger, okay? So, you see, as I'm touching it, several spots right down the middle, on the side. Got a little bit of rub, still right here, coming off on my finger, okay? What that tells me though, is that tells me is this bark is pretty well set, okay? Because I can touch it here, touch it here, touch it here. I don't have any rub coming off, okay? Just here, no rub coming off. You want to make sure that bark is set before you mop it, okay? So, this is set. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and get a nice little mist here. And all I'm using is the old pork standby, okay? This is just equal parts apple cider vinegar to apple juice, all right? We'll go ahead and mist that, get it nice and wet, and we'll close our lid. And so what we'll do is now every hour we'll check it and we'll mop it. All right, so we're at the 3 hour mark. So the other thing I did at the 2 hour mark was I just spritzed the ribs with our mop sauce, the apple cider vinegar and apple juice. That's all I did. So now we're at the 3 hour mark, and what we're gonna do now is we're actually gonna do our first temperature check. The only reason I wanna do this is I just wanna see where we're at. Okay, I wanna see how the meat's progressing. And this just kind of gives me a good feel for how much longer we're gonna need to finish off these ribs. All right, so let's check our temp. Man, oh man, she's looking good, guys. Got that deep mahogany color all the way through. Bark is set. She's looking juicy. Ooh, wee. Starting to get our first signs of pullback on the bones down here. When you see the meat, or I'm sorry, when you see the bones sticking out a little bit farther than the meat, all right, that's called pullback. All right, so that's just the meat shrinking back and exposing the end of the bones there. So to check your temp on ribs, you want to go on the side and in between the bones. You also want to make sure that you're not up against the bone either, because that'll give you a false read. All right, so we're looking at about about 180, 175, somewhere around in that range. All right, so we still got a little ways to go. I usually try to pull these off usually in between the 195 to 200 range, somewhere in there. Again, it all depends on what they look like and what they feel like. Okay, so let's go ahead and give these a spritz. We'll close her up, and we're not going to wrap them, guys. This is going to be just straight up backyard ribs. Okay, so just ribs on the smoker until they're done. All right, we're at our 4-hour mark, so we're going to go ahead and do another temperature check. It's probably gonna be our last one because I'm betting these things are probably about done. So let's take a look. Wow. Wow. Man, those things look good. Look at the color on those ribs. That is just a thing of beauty. All right, let's see where we're at temperature wise. All right, so they're sitting at about 185. So we still got to come up another 10 degrees or so. So we're gonna give them one more hour. We're gonna spritz them one more time. And then we'll go ahead and shut it. We'll give it one more hour, and it should be good about then, and we'll go ahead and put our sauce on it. All right, guys, so we are at the 5-hour mark. All right, so you can see the temperature is down. That's just because I opened it up. Just take a look at it real quick. So let's take a look. That is what you're looking for right there. That is perfect color. You're getting good pullback on all the bones, not just these ones here, but all the way down. So now let's check our temperature. Remember, we're shooting for 195 to 200. There we go, 197 there. That's killing my hand, just keeping it there. And about 199 there. So temperature wise, we're looking good. But here's what I want you guys to do. Grab your tongs. Take them about halfway. Look at that bend. That's what you're looking for, right there. That's what we call the bend. The bend means it's gonna hang, but it's not gonna break apart on you, but it's also not gonna be like a board, straight out, okay? It also should feel like if you hold it there for too long, it's gonna break apart on you. So that's where we're at right now. These ribs are good. So all we're gonna do now is we're gonna sauce them, let them sit on the smoker for maybe about 15-30 minutes, let that sauce tack up, and then we're gonna pull them. All right, guys, so there we have it. 5 hours, the ribs were done. We just sauced them, let them sit on the smoker for maybe about a half hour or so, just to get the sauce tacky. Hit it with a little more sauce after that, just because I like barbecue sauce. Anyway, all right, so let's cut into this, right? Look at the color on this thing. Man, these things look good. So we're just gonna cut right down in between the bones here. Let's do one more. There it is. Oh, you can see the little smoke ring in there. And it's just so tender, the knife cut right through it. Let's give this a try. Man. Flavor is so good. I can bite through. The meat stays on the bone, but if you wanted to, that meat peels right off. Bone is clean. Man, so good. Get more of this. Man. Guys, there you have it. Super simple. Backyard ribs. They're not competition style. We didn't do any trimming. We didn't do any wrapping with any kind of butter or sugar or anything like that. We kept it simple. Just straight rub on the ribs, right on the smoker, cook them till they're done, sauce them, and they're all done. Guys, I hope you like this video. Got anything out of this? Hit that thumbs up button. I appreciate it. While you're at it, go ahead and hit the subscribe button and ring the bell so you know every time I put out a video each week. All right, guys, that's all I got for you this week. Everybody stay safe out there. Remember, support your local nurse. Take it easy.